And hello again, everyone. Welcome to this latest edition of Gulfstream Weekly from our Sport of Kings studio set. And look who decided to join us from lovely Saratoga Springs. Acacia Courtney, Jason Blewett alongside. EquestriCon, a week in Toga. It's good to have you back from the Spawn. How was the trip?
Thank you. Good to be back. I got in late last night. We were just talking about flights and everything, so came back from upstate New York. But it was great to be in town for the Fasig-Tipton sale, as well as EquestriCon, which was pretty cool to be part of that. Moderating a couple panels, speaking on a couple as well. So really great to see all of the sport coming together this weekend.
Now, you picked a good time to get back in the swing of things locally at Gulfstream Park. I mean, obviously, next half hour, we've got a lot of ground and many items to talk about. The usual, we'll kick it off with local here at Gulfstream Park. Races of the week, big Saturday at Arlington Park. Those races will be fun to look at, and Chad Brown continues to bowl me over with what he's accomplished.
Pretty amazing with Jacita and Beach Patrol at Arlington, and watching those races on the TVs from Saratoga, you're just kind of like, wow. You know, I mean, he had several horses running there anyway, and you always knew that he has a good shot, especially on the turf, but some really big performances. And
then we'll have a little preview. Pink Mama running here at Gulfstream Park Thursday, tomorrow afternoon as we tape that. She's back doing what she wants to do, and that's going 3/4 on the dirt. So we'll talk about her chances a bit later, but we begin, and in a way, this worked out nice as far as our ordering of races of the week, because if I was going to give a week's top performer here at Gulfstream Park, it would have to go to Richard the Great, who was just awesome taking. He was, and excuse the pun, it's obvious, he was great winning Saturday's Triniberg Stakes, a 100 buyer, and boy, oh boy, Acacia, this horse has really come into his own.
He really has, and honestly, we've been talking about this actually over the past couple of weeks, but the barn with Stanley Gold and Arundel Farm have been doing very well too, and you're absolutely right, he lived up to his name. Nobody could really compete with him, and you kind of knew going into this race that French Quarter was going to be the favorite. The times were very quick actually in this race, a little bit of a little bit of pressure put on by French Quarter, but I was really impressed with how Richard the Great showed some early speed and then managed to pull away after that.
Yeah, it was almost a case of two different moves, and I think that just underscores with how healthy and sharp and in a groove he is. He's now 5, son of Distorted Humor, trained by Stanley Gold, owned and bred by Arundel, and at one time, he entered this year, late April, in fact, off a 820-day layoff.
It's pretty amazing, and I think it really does speak to the horsemanship of Stanley Gold to get this horse back into his winning ways, and it's pretty clear that he's better than ever.
Yeah, off that 100 buyer, I'm not sure where he goes, but I bumped into Stanley here Sunday, and I said, I don't know what's in the future, but, and not to get ahead of ourselves, you may have a serious sprinter for 2018. I hope that's the case. I am definitely, indeed, definitely a fan, as are you, with Richard the Great. Now we actually dive into, as we continue with races of the week, we'll call this our sort of mid-August Edgard Zayas highlight reel. Saturday was a milestone day for Edgard, and of course we'll have a complete recap of that momentarily. But Sunday, you talk about Edgard's drive to 2,000 career victories. He could not have ridden Bonita, mild upset winner of the Panama City, any better. Just watch this ride as we have her highlighted.
And I don't know how often you're going to get Edgard Zayas at 9-1 either. And as you said, it was an absolutely unbelievable ride. She was the number 6. He weaved her through traffic in here in the yellow silks. I thought just brilliantly timed. He put her in the right place. He kept her out of trouble, which when weaving through traffic like that in the stretch is not an easy thing to do.
No, she was very good as well. I mean, clearly a push-button 3/16 of a mile kick, mare by Bluegrass Cat, who just ran like a seasoned pro. And I think if she goes outside or Edgard decides to take her, say, wide and launch his run early around that second turn, she doesn't get up. She gets nothing. And Joe's DeZanimo, who was a tough luck second, defends her title successfully in the Panama City. A nice ride for sure, and a nice effort out of Bonita. Now we move on to Edgard's 1,000th career victory. It happened to come in Saturday's 6th race. And Saturday, as Edgard had been basically on the cusp of hitting the grand in the win department, Saturday looked like the day. If it wasn't happening before Highborn, it looked like this would be the race in which Edgard would break through. And Highborn, of course, did not disappoint.
Certainly ran like a 1-2 shot should. And Highborn coming off of a really tough race prior to that, he really showed that he had some quality. Big performance from this one. The 9 Marv's Raven was kind of right there early, but just could not keep up. And pretty exciting to see that milestone win.
Trained by Jose Pinchin, he's a 2-year-old gelding, a Florida bred by High Cotton, and a happy winner's circle celebration here. And again, getting back to Saturday, looked like the day it might just happen. Edgard had his whole family out here, his dad, his in-laws, his wife Ashley, and his new daughter, who is adorable, and her name is Lily. So it was just really fun. Got to tell you, as a Florida newbie and rookie, I really enjoyed, even being new to the party down here, or late to the party in some respects, I really kind of felt a part of this well-connected racing family we have here at Gulfstream Park.
And Edgard is such a good person. It's so easy to root for him as well, and I'm sure that you've been able to see that in being down here.
Definitely.
We have such a great jockey colony too, and of course one of the strongest riders we have in Edgard. And you bring up a good point earlier. I don't think it's going to be too long before we see him in 2000.
No, he's a man on a mission, a man with a lot of talent, and I caught up with him, in fact, Sunday after his milestone Saturday, and asked, did it feel any different coming to the races Sunday morning?
Yeah, it felt really great, really. I was very emotional yesterday. It was an amazing victory, you know, after even a couple of big races that I won, that 1,000 win was very important for me, and I was very excited. So.
Your family was excited, too. I mean, just describe that, and watching it was awesome, but what was that like for you in the winner's circle with your newborn daughter, Lily, your wife, Ashley, and the whole family? It
was amazing. I, you know, had to have all my family there, and it was just a coincidence that my grandpa was visiting my uncles in Ocala, so I said, well, I'm going to fly you here, so you'll be here for my 1,000 wins, and I flew my dad here, too, because he follows me all the time, and he loves horse racing, so, you know, it was very exciting to have them here, so I was very anxious just to win before they leave, so it was amazing, and, you know, to have my newborn daughter and Ashley here always supporting me, and that's really good.
Now, you're hard at work at getting to 2,000 wins. You got Gunnevera coming up. Hard to believe the Travers is less than 2 weeks away. Take us back to his return effort here about a week and a half ago.
It was great. You know, it all worked out like we were planning. You know, we wanted to give him a race in between, so, and that didn't take too much from it, and it came out perfect. After the race, I went the next day to visit him, and he was just jumping and being all happy. And I've seen him on the track a couple times, and I think he's better than he's ever been, and I think he's going to do a really good race, and that Travers is going to be a really tough race. It's actually going to be probably the rematch of the Derby, because all the Derby horses are going to be there. So, but he's going to run really good.
Now, almost in a way forgotten about was Highborn, who was your 1,000th winner. Going back and watching the replay, this looks like a very serious 2-year-old.
Yeah, I like that 2-year-old a lot. After I beat him last time with Bobby Axe. That was a 2-year-old that I've been working since he got here, and I always had very high expectations from him. So when I saw him that day, it took me a lot to beat him, and I was like, wow, that's a nice 2-year-old to be a Stallion. So I wanted to ride that horse next time out, and it worked out. You know, that day Tyler wasn't here, so I picked up the mount, and I think he's a really nice 2-year-old.
And so the future, the present, everything bright, and Edgard Zayas just in a great zone. 24 years old, a native of Puerto Rico. He went to the jockey school in Puerto Rico, and that has launched a number of top graduates. Won his first race in the United States at Gulfstream Park West in late November of 2012, and the numbers since then, Acacia, have been very much staggering.
And you can see $4.9 million a year is his average earnings since 2013. He's currently ranked 13th in the nation with 140 wins in 2017. So he has really made a mark for himself. Even staying here in Florida, he rides consistently. He's a very smart rider. And as you can just hear him speaking, he obviously does his homework and knows his horses very well.
Very well spoken and prepared, and we love that about Edgard Zayas, who's one of a number of top talented young riders from Puerto Rico. John Velasquez and, of course, the godfather, I think, Angel Cordero Jr., have set the standard, the gold standard, if you will, as far as being from Puerto Rico and becoming a top jockey. Is Johnny V, who's 41 years of age. He is from Carolina, Puerto Rico, and you've got Erod Ortiz and, of course, Jose Ortiz doing some good things, and Manny Franco from the same town. Johnny V of Carolina, Puerto Rico.
Manny Franco getting his first Grade 1 win at Saratoga this past weekend, and we'll talk about world approval in a little bit, but I know Johnny, a big mentor for Edgard. We actually talked about it before the Kentucky Derby, so pretty cool to see those standings.
All right, we'll turn the page off Edgard, and you'll be hearing a lot more from him during Gulfstream Weekly. That is a 1-9 shot with no show betting because the bridge jumpers would be out in full force. Let's get on to the action, though, as we continue on a little later. In fact, 3 races later on that Saturday program, it was 2-year-olds who faced each other on the turf, and boy, oh boy, this was a very gritty effort. A good ride from Misael Jaramillo, riding the rail to victory with Renaissance Frolic.
He did, and he actually did get a little bit of luck in that the number 6 Miago kind of floated off the rail, so the rail opened up for him, the number 4 there. But Miago came back strongly, and of course with these kind of inexperienced horses, there's definitely some greenness, but Misael Jaramillo really kept on him, and you can see sometimes horses get a little bit uncomfortable on the inside, and he did not let him give up.
No, very determined effort out of a horse who saved every inch of ground, and looking at that nose win, that ground saving proved the key there.
Oh, yeah.
Hugging the rail throughout beneath Jaramillo. Good stuff all around for trainer David Fox as well. He's got 8 wins here at GP since Thursday, August the 3rd. His barn has just been in fuego, to be honest about it. Now, moving on to Sunday's action here, as we have another 2-year-old maiden race, but this one for the fillies on the grass. Queen Rose, and we'll show you the race, took all the early money. Ronnie and I got out Acacia to do the prattle. It was about 12 minutes to post or so. 8-5 was the current price on her when we started yapping away on this race. By race time, she was 10-1, and the early money was the smart money.
It was right, and it was actually kind of amazing when I went back to watch this race again. I was shocked to see that she went off at 10-1, and it is pretty interesting. But I thought, you know, she won the break. It actually kind of was a lot of movement going on around the first turn, several kind of floating off the turn. But he really started to ask her heading around the final turn, got the lead, and everybody else was kind of too late trying to catch up to her.
All right, Abby Medina up for trainer Antonio Sano. 2-year-old filly by More Than Ready, Giants Causeway Dam, purchased for just $5,000 at OBS April. Maybe she's not a looker, but she certainly took to the turf like a duck to water in Sunday's 8th. And again, I can appreciate a good, for lack of a better term, put over, and I know they were very high on her getting to the grass. It's rare, at least as far as our 2-year-old races go, Acacia, on this show that we display a maiden claimer. But as I was putting the broadcast together, I said, man, we've got to include World of Trouble, who won last Thursday.
Yeah, I think it'd be kind of hard to skip over this performance. Just so dominant. She went off at 9-5 as a first-time starter for Kathleen O'Connell. Here's Edgard Zayas again. And what I think he did really well about this, and you can actually even hear it in Pete Aiello's call, is that this horse got a little bit green in the stretch, kind of wanted to lean in onto the rail. He took the horse off of the rail, kept the horse focused on the task ahead.
Yeah, this one a 2-year-old gelding by Cantharos, and I'll tell you in hindsight, now maybe he loved the track, and the track, although harrowed and open, was listed as good, and I did see Kathleen O'Connell maybe 15 minutes after that race, and she said this is a horse who loves an off track. So maybe the weather conditions suited him, but again, I still think Connections are probably pretty happy and maybe a little lucky. Nobody jumped in and grabbed him for a quarter by Cantharos, and again, a 77 buyer for that good-looking effort here last Thursday afternoon. Well, that's the first segment. The 2-year-olds and Edgard Zayas out of the way, and as we send it to break, we'll head deep into the archives, the video vault at Gulfstream Park, and Larry Colmus, in fact, will take us to the breather with a call of the 2012 Swale with Trini Berg.
And Motor City still trails the field, a 45 flat half mile. And Trini Berg and Willie Martinez have a 2-length lead. Hello Prince is second, Silver Menace third. Ever So Lucky has his work cut out for him. He's still 5 lengths off the lead as Trini Berg comes to mid-stretch, 3 in front. Trini Berg all alone. And then it's Hello Prince, followed by Ever So Lucky, and on the far outside, Good Morning Diva, but Trini Berg has run away in the swale. He won it easily over Hello Prince.
At ExpressBet, we celebrate the champions that make horse racing great. That's why we provide more ways to bet from more places than ever. We've built an entire family of brands to give players more of the rewards they deserve. Give bettors the information they need to win and provide a community for horse bettors. Because the best way to support the champions of horse racing is to champion horse racing. ExpressBet. We are racing.
And welcome back to Gulfstream Weekly. Acacia and Jason with you from our Sport of Kings set. Locally, the action was pretty good here at Gulfstream Park. In fact, it was excellent. Looked at a lot in that first segment, but we'll hit the road here. It's time for a road trip. Even though you just got back to sunny South Florida, pack your bag again because we're off to the Windy City. And, of course, Saturday, Arlington Million Day at Arlington Park. This is one of the greatest days of North American racing each and every August. And, man, oh, man, we'll show you the race right now. Beach Patrol was very, very determined. Very determined. That's a good way to put it. And we alluded to this earlier that it was a good day for Chad Brown. He also had a win with Desita, who we'll get to soon, but the number 10 that day, and I thought that the inside, you saw this horse Deauville for Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore, and Beach Patrol came back and was so game, and then you had on the outside at 70-1 was Fanciful Angel, but I thought huge performance from Beach Patrol, who was forwardly placed the entire time, and I actually saw that he's the first horse since Marlin in 96 and 97 to win both the Secretariat and the Million in consecutive years, so pretty cool. What a great accomplishment, and I remember Marlin. He was a very, very good turf horse, and congrats to the connections of Beach Patrol. And again, as we throw it to the Beverly D and an off-the-pace run by Desita, I'll tell you, Desita was very good and take nothing away from her, but Grand Jeté, who's in the Juddmonte Silks, I mean, you'll be able to see her. She's on the rail right now in the pink cap. I mean, Joel Rosario basically had to eat her the entire stretch run, but take nothing away from Desita, who's just danced a lot of dances and is legitimately a Grade 1 mare. She is. She was one of 3 in here for Chad, and you can see Grand Jeté with the white blaze now finally has some room and is running. Brutal trip for this one. So this was actually Chad Brown's 4th win in the Beverly D. Desita, already a Grade 1 win to her name in North America with the Diana. So she got back. This is, of course, a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. So they did say, listening to Saul Kuman afterwards, whose Sheep Pond Partners does own Desita, that Breeders' Cup looks like will be the goal for her. All right, by the late Scat Daddy, she is a good one, Desita. And Chad, it's just an embarrassment of riches as far as the turf horses that he has, male and female, right down the shed row. Brian Lynch, though, has got a good 3-year-old, a very good 3-year-old, and we'll throw to the Secretariat here with Oscar Performance, who we've just come outside some stutter steps earlier in the year. When this horse is on and he's right, we've come to expect performances like this. We have, and this is now his 3rd win in a row. He's got a couple of Grade 1 wins this year, and this is interesting because Brian Lynch said they'll probably aim for the Grade 1 Joe Hirsch Turf Classic after this, and I think it brings up an interesting question that I did see some people talking about. I'm curious of your opinion. He is one of the most consistent 3-year-olds right now, even though he is a turf horse, and it does bring up the question, is this kind of performance going to take him to another level? He's got to, I would have to think, improve, but so maybe not improve that much. I think it's way more of a Herculean, that didn't come out all that well, a much bigger hurdle for the 3-year-olds to take on the likes of Arrogate and Gunrunner on the dirt, as opposed to this horse stepping up and facing the likes of Beach Patrol, whatever Euros might come over. You may not get a full field of Euros in the Joe Hirsch Turf Classic. That will add a big layer to the race, and I've got to think Oscar Performance would have a pretty big chance against older domestic turf runners. Absolutely agree. I think he really proved himself with that performance. He's in very good form right now. All right, let's move on to our next race. In fact, we'll stay on the turf. Grade 1 action at the Spa. I hope you had your raincoat and your umbrella Saturday, and we will see the after effects. I mean, if you watch the divots and chunks of grass and ground this field is kicking up off the quarter pole, and the gray World Approval got the upset win for Mark Cassie, but boy, oh boy, did it rain a lot, and World Approval clearly relished the going. He did. Now, he likes the yielding turf, and this was actually labeled good this day. It was race 8 that the rain just started to
downpour, and that race 8 was delayed. Race 10, of course, was the 4-star Dave. There might be a little bit of a curse on that day, as last year 4-star Dave was actually moved to another day because of weather, but I thought it was a huge performance from World Approval. Very interesting for Mark Cassidy as well, who's had a pretty cold Saratoga meet. He was 1 for 40 coming into that day, and then he had 2 wins, including World Approval, and as I mentioned earlier, first Grade 1 win at the Spa for jockey Manny Franco.
Hey, congrats to Manny Franco. We saw him, the youngest rider as far as our active top riders from Puerto Rico. He is very much on that list. We showed you earlier in this edition of Gulfstream Weekly, and it was good to see the Cassie barn kind of break through. And maybe similar sentiments come Sunday afternoon with the Saratoga Special. Now, we know Steve Asmussen, and we'll show you Copper Bullet off the far turn in the Spa Special. We know Asmussen's got the Whitney already to his credit with Gunrunner, but this largely has been a forgettable summer upstate in upstate New York for the Asmussen operation, but they've got a good one here in Copper Bullet.
They do, and I think his experience really did give him a little bit of an edge in here. He was perhaps one of the more seasoned ones in here. He'd already faced Graded Stakes company coming into this. He was third coming into this race in the Grade 3 Bashford Manor. He saw Hollywood Star chasing him. There was no catching Copper Bullet, so I thought his improved speed, that nice performance from him, looks like he'll have a pretty good future.
All right, he's off to Churchill Downs for the Iroquois before the Breeders' Cup during the fall. As we backtrack to Saturday's action at the Spa, when it was still, I think, sunny out.
Yes.
This was well before the rain hit, that biblical rainstorm that they had before the 4-star Dave. And I had read and even saw a couple of races on this program around this time. I guess the inside was pretty good, but still got a New York bred by Midget Impassable named Pure Silver, who's a very solid racehorse.
Very. She's 3 for 3 now. She was coming in off 2 state-bred victories, so this was her first time outside of New York bred company. It didn't seem to be a problem at all. She's a beautifully put together filly for Todd Pletcher, and John Velasquez was up there. Now, you could see a little bit at the break if you go back and watch that her stablemate Stainless had a bad trip, so he kind of had to hustle Pure Silver a little bit more, but I thought nice performance from her.
All right, out to California we go with Del Mar. We'll show you the best pal run Saturday, and on the heels of winning last weekend's Grade 1 test with American Gal, it was owner Kaleem Shah and trainer Simon Callahan in the winner's circle with Runaway.
Flavian Pratt aboard, and he was hustled to the front, but then settled behind an 80-1 shot in an Ocala 10 with Victor Espinosa up, and then managed to pull away. You can see this one went off at 3-2. Pretty easy performance, I thought, ahead of the rest of the field. Kind of blew them away.
Looks like the California, at least as far as the Pro Tem 2-year-old leader out on the West Coast. I think we just saw it there with Runaway by Runaway and Hyde. Not much of a flashy design or pedigree, but a racehorse who no doubt can motor. And speaking of pedigrees, let's give you an up-to-date list as far as what freshman stallions are making noise and where they're currently standing. Now, Kentucky, of course, really has plenty to choose from, and there's some surprising names on there in a way, like Justin Phillip, Smiling Tiger, and how about my man Overanalyze for the Rapoli stable?
Doing
He's not
very well.
number one, knocking him dead as far as a first crop stallion.
Yeah, he is. It's been really impressive. He had a really nice winner at Saratoga. I believe it was Wednesday. Just it seems like everything he's producing is running, and Violence as well. Being at the Fasig-Tipton sale on Monday and Tuesday, you saw Violence horses go very well, and I think it's important to notice the prices that Orb progeny were going for. It's actually incredible that you see prices close to or even at $1 million for somebody by Orb. That's pretty untested as of yet.
Did you like the Orbs that you saw up at Fasig-Tipton?
I did. I've seen some pretty nice ones running already, as we have seen a couple Orb 2-year-olds running, but I did like as far as the makeup and the physical attributes of them, I was pretty impressed. And obviously buyers were too.
Yeah, no kidding. Geez, I wish I had a season to him. And we'll see how those Sons of Malibu Moon start doing at stud. And Orb obviously near the cream of the crop as far as those runners are concerned, or stallions. And we'll come home here to Florida, sunny Florida, and we'll look at who's doing what as far as the new faces in the local sort of Florida breeding and racing scene. And again, taking a page from maybe some of the names on that open company list, I think Treasure Beach. Who would have ever imagined he'd be number one so far?
And he's been very impressive.
Crazy.
And it's just kind of, and even if they're not winning, he's they're running, and I think that's pretty impressive as well. Brethren has started to heat up. I'm still, for me, the jury's still out a little bit on Soldat, because I think that they are from what I have seen, some beautifully put together horses, and I'm really interested to see as we go on through the year and as they get a little bit more seasoning under them.
All right, he's one of the big names by Warfront. Obviously, Warfront has the nation's second most expensive stud fee at $250,000 a pop. I happen to think he's a little overrated. Just me. His horses sell really well, maybe do outstanding on the turf in Europe. Stateside, not so much, in my humble opinion. However, I think we could both agree that Express Jet, a very good, tough horse, and he was awesome here last Friday afternoon on the Twilight Friday program. In fact, Pete Aiello off the quarter pole as we sent it to break with Express Jet.
Up front, JB Quick leads a half a length. Express Jet comes to call on the outside second. Sir Hernan is back at the inside and a bit tight third. Papa Pig is rolling. He's within 7 lengths as they turn in. JB Quick straightens for the drive, overhauled by Express Jet, who's out in the crown of the course, and Miguel Vasquez and Express Jet go on to take the lead. JB Quick, dead game second. Papa Pig rallies, tries to get into third. JB Quick coming back at the leader of Express Jet, still has the measure. Express Jet will win it.
A passion for horses and a commitment to breed champions is the foundation of Hardacre Farm. Founded in 1999 by Amy Tarrant, owner, breeder, and trainer, Hardacre Farm, now based in Ocala, continues its tradition of success. From the Breeders' Cup to Gulfstream Park, Hardacre Farm, from the breeding shed to the racetrack, in pursuit of producing the best.
Hey, South Florida, it's time to get social at sunset. This summer at Gulfstream Park, as the sun goes down, the scene heats up. Join us each week for Twilight Racing Fridays, a fusion of horse racing, food and drink specials, and live performances by local bands. Enter drawings and play horse racing bingo, your chance to win incredible prizes. Live racing begins at 2:15. Admission and parking are free. Visit GulfstreamPark.com for more details. Gulfstream Park, Twilight Racing Fridays. Get social at sunset.
Deep stretch time here on Gulfstream Weeklies. We welcome you back, and we get right into the action here, Acacia and Jason, with Thursday's card. We've got 10 Acacia, and your first day back for live racing at GP. And you picked a good time to come back because Thursday's first is just an absolute war.
It really does. It starts off with a bang. You have the likes of Artie's Bourbon Girl in there, and you also have Pink Mama, who had 6 consecutive wins, and that streak was broken with a turf race. This is 2 starts back. We're showing her last win on the dirt.
And the dirt, although she won on the turf at Tampa, and she's won 6 of her last 7, that 7th race being her most recent start, and that was a loss here sprinting on the grass. Ultimately, even though she's got that Tampa Bay turf win for Gerald Bennett, this is where she belongs, I think, and what she does best. And I do happen to think 3/4 on the dirt is her best distance. There's a part of me, though, that is just low. That's kind of against my religion to take an odds-on favorite who's going to be an underlay with all her winning for a trainer or any barn that's just not in a groove. And Gerald Bennett, who we sung the praises of during the spring meet, the numbers are what they are. He's 0 for 40 heading into the week here.
Unfortunately, that is the glaring negative that you do have to try to overlook if you like Pink Mama, and you certainly have to respect her. I mean, she didn't win 6 in a row by luck. No. She certainly is a really tough horse, but I think, as you said, she's going to be a very short price, and I think you have to move a little bit hesitantly. Now, if you're playing the early pick 5, certainly want to include her, I would say, but you might be able to find a little bit more value.
All right, Artie's Bourbon Girl, you watch. These 2 up here will stop her, even though she's been in raging form.
It's a lot of weight to carry.
I would scratch if I was trainer Elizabeth Dobles, all right? She's probably going, geez, now I can't be Pink Mama. But anyway, we'll look forward to that Thursday afternoon here at Gulfstream Park. We'll have Ron Nicoletti and Pete Aiello in the mix. And a quick reminder, it's never too early to start planning and talking about the 2018 Pegasus World Championship. And we have a betting contest, live money contest, that is fitting and befit of the Pegasus name.
It is, and you can see estimated pool $500,000 or more. Now that live money buy-in, $12,000. I actually had some people coming up to me in Saratoga saying they're getting excited to play this. So people are getting into it already. You don't want to miss out on that and all the other great stuff that'll be going on come Pegasus time.
And we have 10 races here Thursday afternoon. Do we have a carryover in the Rainbow Six, I wonder? Indeed we do. Wow, well over 100K. Miss Acacia, about $1.40 in the pool.
All right, and you can expect that to go up, 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 and keep an eye on that. It's been slowly growing, and once it passes the $100,000 mark, that's where things really do get interesting.
All right, things will be interesting here. Again, Pink Mama against a solid crew that includes Artie's Bourbon Girl here in Thursday's first, and we'll start a new 4-day week at beautiful Gulfstream Park. Acacia and myself thank you for joining us here on Gulfstream Weekly, and we'll see you next time from beautiful Gulfstream Park.